Hi, it's Mike Stevenson here. In today's video, we're going to look at the next in my little few videos about preserving tags. So the background of this scenario here is we've got a DevOps team building a solution. In this case, they're managing the DevOps process with Bicep for deployment of Azure resources, but the FinOps team in a separate initiative are off trying to get control of costs, and they're trying to sort of work back on environments that have already been built. Now, the challenge is that the FinOps team need metadata to support the activities they're doing, so they'll be wanting to put tags on resources, but the DevOps team are too busy delivering new solutions that they have to hit deadlines for, so that creates a friction where the two scenarios are, one, we don't want to interfere with the project pipeline, and number two, the DevOps team don't necessarily want to deploy something that's previously been deployed but has no kind of functional changes. They don't necessarily want to go redeploying just so they can put tags on it. So this is a thing where I'd like to talk about an approach that can help do this with Bicep. Now, if we have a look at my my Azure environment here, so here I've got a sample storage account that I've deployed with Bicep, and we've got 4 tags over here. So these 2 tags, environment and created by, they're managed by the Bicep file, so they'll be updated every time we do a deployment. But the problem we have is we've got these tags that the FinOps team have put on with some tooling separately to Bicep, and when the Bicep process redeploys this resource, it'll basically remove those tags. So let's have a look. We have a look at my Visual Studio Code solution here. So here is an example of my Bicep file. So I'm just using a storage account because it's a really easy way to demonstrate this. And you can see here in the Bicep file, we've got the tags defined. And it's a bit like Terraform, where we looked at in a previous video. These tags can be updated and maintained, but the difference with Terraform and Bicep is Terraform had the ability to ignore changes to specifically defined tags. That sort of solved half the problem, and the other video talks about the other side of that problem. But with Bicep, we don't really have the same capability here. So every time I deploy this Bicep file, that's going to wipe those tags. And I think what we'll do, actually, we'll just have a look and see that in action here. So in VS Code, I should be able to deploy my Bicep file here. So we'll see at the bottom here, it's starting to deploy that. So you'll see kind of down here that it's succeeded. So if we go and have a look in the Azure portal again, so if we do a refresh here, we can see Bicep took away those tags. So I'm going to put them back in now. So I'll just save that. So when the DevOps deployment with Bicep happens, the problem is the cost data related to those resources may now be affected. So that means the FinOps team have had their process broken. That may make things like cost allocation of these resources might end up going to the wrong place or not be allocated and that kind of thing. So to help with that problem, basically got a PowerShell script. So I can run this script up here. And what this will do is this basically wraps my Bicep deployment. So if you imagine inside the PowerShell process, it'll call Bicep. And it'll do the deployment. But what it'll do is it'll do an archive process before. So it'll take a copy of the tags that meet certain criteria, and then it'll do a restore process afterwards. So here I'm specifying the name of the PowerShell script I'm going to run. This is the resource script we're going to deploy to This is the name of the Bicep file. Now there are other parameters, so I can do like a what if I want to see what might happen. I can also supply parameters, like if I want to specify a template file or a parameters file for the Bicep, and then this bit here is where I'm specifying a prefix for tags. So here I'm going to look at any tag that starts with FinOps, and I'm going to basically I'm going to snapshot those tags, do the deployment, and then put them back on. So we'll have a look at what happens if we run this now. So you can see over here we've started to run the script. So step one is we scan for existing tags, and we found a bunch of tags here. So these are resources which have that tag on. Now just be aware that in this resource group I've got another storage account that's not part of this this Bicep deployment, so we'll basically just restore them on that as well. The step 2 down here is where we'll do the actual deployment. So if you notice here, we call the AZ deployment Azure CLI component, and that'll basically do the deployment we've specified here. And then step 3 in this script, sort of down here, is where we're doing the restore of tags. So you can see this resource wasn't touched by the deployment, so we just leave the tags alone. But this resource here, those tags have been added because the deployment removed them. So that's the storage account that I've just updated with Bicep. So at the end, my tags are back as they were before the deployment. And we'll be able to go into Azure here. If we do a refresh, we'll see that our tags are still here. So basically that's a really simple process to just wrap your Bicep deployment, to snapshot the tags, do the deployment, put the tags back on, as long as they make me a prefix. So hopefully that's a really easy way to keep both the DevOps and the FinOps teams happy. They can both focus on doing their job without too much overhead of worrying about, like, deleting tags that break stuff for another team. Thank you for listening to today's video. We hope this is useful.